What's up? What's up? Welcome to Mind Your Hormones, or welcome back to Mind Your Hormones. We are chatting about overwhelm today. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I am feeling that in real time right now. So I'm literally going to be talking to you about exactly what I do when I'm realizing that I'm feeling overwhelmed, where I can identify that it's coming from, and how I support myself through this, and how I also prevent myself from getting to this place. And some of these things that we're going to be talking about are things that I realize I have not been doing, that I'm going to start doing again, because I know that it really, really helps me when I do feel overwhelmed. And we're not talking about like meditation and stuff like that. Like that, of course, always, 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 that's like a number one thing for me. I always do that. I'm a proponent of that, of making sure that you are taking care of your nervous system. But this is more so just like other tactical things that you could do, because maybe right now you're feeling like super overwhelmed, like there's not enough time, like you don't know where to start. Like maybe you're in a position where you're learning about your hormones right now and you're like, holy shit, I have to change so many things to start feeling better. I'm just like gathering all this information, like it's coming, I'm just like binging episode after episode after episode. I'm like, this is amazing, but then I'm also like, holy shit, I'm overwhelmed. Maybe you're wanting to start your family, but you're not getting pregnant and you're feeling like time pressure. Maybe you're in the process of buying a house like we are. Before baby comes, and there's so much that goes on with that. That's personal, what we're experiencing at this current moment. With time that I'm recording this, I'm just about 32 weeks pregnant. And our place is sold. We're still looking for a place. We put multiple offers on multiple houses, have not got accepted. It's just the wild, wild west out here. And if it's not this, it's something better. It's this or something better, this or something better. I have it on repeat over and over and over and over. But the time thing is real. The overwhelm is real. Like, so maybe you're in a similar situation. Maybe you're planning a wedding. Maybe you're running a business. Maybe you're doing a mix of all of these things. Okay. Like, I feel you right now. And if this is what I realized. For me, I realized that I get overwhelmed when I'm looking at all these things at once, when I'm looking at everything that has to get accomplished at once. And I'm like, holy shit, this all has to happen ideally within the next 8 weeks. I'm like, that's literally insane. Like, not just selling this house, packing it up, buying a new house, unpacking, getting all the baby stuff together, like making sure we have all of that, setting up the business for maternity, just like normal life things. Like, there's so many things going on. And I know in your life, it could look like this, or again, it could be one of the other examples I talked about of like wanting to start your family, wanting to start feeling better, getting rid of your cramps, like whatever it is. Okay. When you think about the end goal and you're like, and all the things that have to happen before that actual end goal comes to life, it's literally paralyzing. Okay. It's paralyzing because we start thinking like, there's no way that's going to happen. You start getting into lack mode and scarcity, and just like, there's literally not enough time. There's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough resources. I just can't figure it all out. Like, there's no way I'm going to figure it all out by this time. It's just not going to happen, right? You just get so paralyzed when you look at this huge end goal or multiple end goals that are happening at one time. And like, oh my God, what is going to freaking happen? So I don't know, maybe you could connect with that. But for me, I know that I start feeling overwhelmed when I'm looking at the big picture of not, well, obviously looking at the big picture is always is a good thing. It's different than that. You know what I'm saying? When you're looking at like what has to be accomplished and all the things that need to get done, thinking like they have to get done tomorrow, right? Like, we have to thankfully know that it doesn't have to all happen all at once. And that overwhelm, that paralyzed, that like panic feeling comes from looking at where you are and where you want to go, and just like being like, oh, how am I going to get there? Like, what the frig? Like, how is this going to happen? Okay. Yes, obviously there are some real deadlines, right? Like, I don't have control over when this baby is coming. This baby is coming in 8 weeks or less, or maybe a little bit more. That's the reality of it. Maybe we'll be in a house by then. Maybe we'll be here. Maybe we'll be moving with a 2-week-old. Like, we don't know. Okay. So there are real timelines that are at play. But I can't stay fixated on that. And same thing for you. Maybe you're feeling like you're on a time crunch because you wanted to have a baby by X year and that's not happening because maybe you're struggling with your fertility, or again, your wedding is coming up and you're like, this is when the wedding is. I have to get all this shit done by now. Or you sold your place and you're going to move to another place. You're like, oh my God, the closing date for the place I sold is coming up. I don't even know where I'm living yet. Like, whatever it is for you, there are real deadlines. And like, I'm not going to like pretend like there aren't, but it's not like focusing on that is not going to help. So with any goal that you have, again, whether it is regulating your period, getting off hormonal birth control, getting pregnant, buying a house, getting married, actually like planning the wedding, like whatever, like literally doesn't matter. Any of these examples, whatever one is actually something that you're experiencing right now in real time, you have to take it one small step at a time and make it into bite-sized goals, bite-sized pieces instead of this major overarching thing. Because when you break it down like that, it's way more manageable, right? It's like instead of shoving an entire meal in your mouth at one time, you take bites of that meal, right? You know, like that's literally what it's like. So if you just take one small step at a time, you're going to get there, or you're going to at least get a lot closer and in more efficient time frame than you would if you stay paralyzed from looking at the entire whole picture and freaking out. So we have to break down the goal. So say your goal, because I know a lot of you who listen to this podcast, your goal is to get pregnant. Okay. So let's just use that as an example right now. If your goal is to get pregnant and you're like, oh my God, Corinne, like I've been trying for X amount of months or maybe X amount of years, and now I'm starting to learn about things that I want to be changing, and I feel like there's so many things I have to do. Or you're like, I've already tried so many things, I actually don't even know where to start. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, and you're in that thought. Obviously, first of all, I just want to give you a big hug and say, like, I have so many resources for you on this podcast. Obviously, you know to listen to them. But if you're in that space and you're like, I'm binging these podcast episodes, I just like want a roadmap of what's going on. Obviously, the Mind Your Hormones method is for you. That is where everything is broken down for you, so you don't have to feel so overwhelmed. It's literally in these bite-sized pieces. I didn't even realize that until right now when I'm talking to you about it, but that's literally what it is. It's your step-by-step roadmap of it. So obviously that's there for you. That's always in the show notes. But the point of this is to help you not feel as overwhelmed. Okay. So if your goal is to get pregnant, one part of that is, okay, working on my nervous system and stress. I know I have to work on my nervous system and stress. I've heard Corinne talk about it before. I've heard a lot of other people talk about how stress can stop ovulation and how it can mess up your endocrine system and how cortisol is a top tier hormone. And if that is off, everything else is off. The domino effect. Like, okay, what's one small thing I can do this week that's going to support my nervous system? Okay, well, I know that I can start incorporating meditation. I know that I can start taking certain things off my plate that I actually don't need to have on my plate. I'm just like making it seem like I need to do these things, even though I don't need to do them. I could either outsource them. I could just simply not do them. I can ask for help with them. I know that I can get off social media, not obviously not all the time, because that's just not realistic, but I can definitely scale back on that because that's making me feel anxious because I'm seeing all these people who are, getting pregnant or whatever, or I'm comparing myself. Like, I know I can scale back on that. I know it can help my nervous system out by maybe like slowing down my work, whatever. Like, okay, pick one thing. Okay. One thing to work on your nervous system and work on it for a week. Maybe that's meditation. Okay, awesome. This whole week, all I'm focusing on is meditating for 5 minutes every day. Okay, cool. The next week, I know that nutrient density is important for getting pregnant. Okay, cool. Let's look into some supplements. By the way, of course, I have a full supplement training. That's part of the Mind Your Hormones method, but you could also purchase it separately. That's will be in the show notes as well. But let's look into some supplements. Okay, this week I'm going to order them and then I'm going to start taking them. Okay, amazing. The next week, I really want to start working on my meals. I want to dial in my meals. Let's just start with breakfast this week. Let's just make sure I'm having a blood sugar balancing breakfast, another module in the Mind Your Hormones method. Okay. Let's make sure we're having a protein, a fiber, and a healthy fat for breakfast this week. That's all I'm focusing on this week. And then maybe next week I'll focus on lunch, right? It's so much more like manageable and less freaking stressful when we break down these goals into things that it could be week by week. It could be a few days at a time. Like, why would we feel like we have to do, because, well, I know why, because I know a lot of you are like me. You realize that these things are going to help you. You're like, I know these things are going to help me. So I just want to do everything all at once because I want to get to this goal as quickly as possible. And I get it. I freaking get it. And I hear you. But here's the thing with that. It's not about doing it all at once, because first of all, that creates this overwhelm that we're talking about. Second of all, your body needs time to catch up. We can't just throw a ton of shit at your body at once and all of a sudden be like, okay, for decades, I haven't been doing any of this, but now I'm just going to cram all this into 1 or 2 weeks and then expect you to be consistent with it and expect you to be mentally stable and not freaked out and all stressed out over it of trying to remember, wait, what am I supposed to do with this meal? How do I do this? Okay, wait, the meditation. Okay, wait, cutting down coffee or slowing down my workouts. Like, you can't do all of it all at once. It's not something that's supportive for your mind or for your body. The whole point of all of this is making it something that's sustainable. Like, when we're talking about shifting your lifestyle specifically, is like making it sustainable, something that your body can actually slowly, gradually change through and like catch up with. And that's something that you will stay consistent with. You're not going to be able to stay consistent with something that you're doing so many things all at once. Like, it's just not realistic. This is also why this is so funny, because my one-on-one client, one of them were Voxering me the other day, and she messaged me. She was going through the blood sugar module in the Mind Your Hormones method. And she was like, I got to the end of it and I was like, oh, I want more. Like, I want to just like keep learning more and more and more. And then she was like, but wait a second. She's like, I paused, and she was actually thinking about something that her pastor told her about, like, we always want like more. We're binging, like you go on a cruise ship or whatever, and like you just eat and eat and eat and drink and drink and drink because everything is just like available for you there. But like, that's not actually supportive for you. So she was like, I was thinking about that, of how I just was like wanting to like binge more material. But I realized, like, no, let me just actually implement the things that I just learned about. And she's like, I'm so grateful you drip out the content in the Mind Your Hormones method, and it's not all available right away, because I would have just continued on to the next module without actually even making all the changes. So that is what I want for you. I want for you to be able to slowly make changes, not just obviously like binge the podcast. I love it. I love when you binge it. I'm a binger too. Like, I love learning. I love all those things, but I want you to actually slowly make changes that are going to help you feel better and not so overwhelmed. And that's the whole point of this. Okay. So I just went on a completely different tangent that I was not planning on going on. So let's try and wrap this back around to whatever I was talking about. But, oh yeah, the goal of getting pregnant and breaking it down into 1 week at a time. Okay. I know you want to do it all at once because you want to get to the goal quicker, but it's not actually going to get you there quicker. Like, when you really think about it, it's not. It's going to cause you to get overwhelmed. It's going to cause you to throw in the towel. It's going to cause your nervous system to get all out of whack. So let's break down each goal into bite-sized pieces. Okay. Now, from a tactical standpoint, this is what you can do to help you with this. What helps me when I feel like there's so many moving pieces, like I talked about in my personal life, all the moving pieces that we have going on right now. What I do, well, I haven't been doing this. And this is why I'm like, I need to start doing this, because I'm feeling myself getting a little bit more overwhelmed and a little bit more scattered with so many different things that are going on and things that I'm, in control of and wanting to prepare before the baby comes, especially with the business, like getting it ready to be more like automated and things that I want to get done ahead of time. So I have maternity leave, like all this stuff, right? Aside from moving, selling, getting shit ready for the baby, like all that stuff. Okay. But regardless of what you have going on, what I used to do all the time, specifically when I first started my business, was putting things in different buckets, like on an actual like piece of paper, and I'll explain in a second, and listing out what you need to do that week in each bucket and dividing it up like that. So for example, when I say buckets, I just mean like you get a piece of paper, right? And you're going to have different like columns or different sections for each area of your life. So for me, what it was like personal. Okay. Always would start with personal. What are things in my personal life that I am doing this week? Okay. I'm definitely going to acupuncture. I'm, taking a walk X amount of days. Like, I'm getting my workouts in. Maybe have a date night planned. Like, I have my, niece's communion this week, like whatever, like stuff like that. Okay. Put all that in your personal bucket. Things that are happening for you this week that you are doing for yourself in your personal life. Okay. That's always first that we want to put on there, because we want to make sure that we're prioritizing ourselves And that could even be like ordering myself supplements. Like I got to make sure I'm doing that this week. I said I wanted to do that this week, or, reading this book or whatever. Okay. So put that in your personal bucket. Then in the next column, you could put like house, like whatever, like for us right now, for me, house, I don't mean like cleaning and stuff like that. You could do that too. For me right now, that means like, okay, selling our place, buying a new place. What are things that we actually have to get done right now? Okay. We have an open house that we're going to this day and this day. I have to get this information to my lawyer. I have to make sure I fill this out. Like whatever, like tactical stuff for that. If you are in that space, okay, you put that there, right? This is just like examples for me right now. If you're planning a wedding, you could do a wedding bucket. Okay. Whatever it is. Then another bucket I have is baby. Okay, what do I have to do baby stuff this week? Okay, I know that I want to solidify my birth plan, so I'm going to talk to my doula and get that settled. I want to take a breastfeeding class, so I'm going to schedule that, not for this week, but I'm just going to, this week, it's going to be something I'm going to schedule to make sure that it gets done. I'm going to look at my registry, see what's already taken off of it, and make sure that we can, purchase the rest of it. Like we have to order a recliner. I didn't do that yet. I'm going to order the recliner this week. Okay, what are the things that I want to get done this week underneath the baby category? Now, the thing that's really important when you were doing these buckets, it's that it's just the things that you have to get done this week. Okay. So some of those things like, do they have to get done this week? Some of them, yes, like ordering a dress for my baby shower. Yeah, that's in like 2 weekends. So yeah, that has to get done this week. So it actually comes in. Okay. But what are the things that you actually have to get done underneath that category this week? Because I could put 700 things under the baby category that I want to get done before the baby comes, but we're just focusing on this week. Okay. Next for me is all my business stuff. So like I have buckets for, okay, podcast example. Okay. I have to record X amount of podcasts this week. Make sure I send them over to my assistant, whatever, like, this is what I'm talking about, blah, blah, blah. So I do my podcast bucket. Clients. Okay. What's going on with my clients? What client calls do I have this week? Who do I need to get back to? Do I need to check over any food journals, BBT charts? Like what's going on with specifically my one-on-one clients? That's a one bucket. Then I have the Mind Your Hormones method. Okay, do I have a Mind Your Hormones method call this week? Are there any new trainings I want to drop that I have to get done this week? Are there any edits to it that I need to get done this week? Like what's going on with the Mind Your Hormones method? Then I have my other bucket of the Motherhood Unfiltered membership. Okay, what am I dropping in there this week? What are we, like right now we're in the middle of selling it. It didn't start yet. So it's like, okay, I want to make sure I talk about it on my stories X amount of times to make sure people know about it. Why am I excited about, like whatever I need to do for that? Okay. Then I have my admin tasks. What do I have to do on the back end? Okay. We got to make sure that we have this automation flow set up and we have to double back with it, whatever, like any admin tasks of finances, of organizing things, of planning stuff from a strategic standpoint for maternity leave. And then I have another bucket for Jackie, for my assistant. What am I passing off to her? Okay. So again, for you, your buckets might look different. Maybe you're a teacher and you'll have different buckets. If you're a high school teacher, you could be like, okay, you have your personal, you have maybe your children, if you have children, you have your like house stuff, like whatever it is, those different buckets. And then for work, you have, okay, period 1 that I teach, period 3, period 5, period 7, whatever. And then you're like, this is what I have to get done this week for this period. This is what I have to get done this week for this period or this class, whatever. If you're an elementary school teacher, you could break it up into subjects, what you have to get done. Like you understand what I'm saying, right? But you break up your things into different sections. If you're working on your health, you could put a bucket for fertility or period regulation. What am I doing this week? That could also go under personal too, right? Of like, okay, this week I'm focusing on, like, say you're part of the Mind Your Hormones method. I am watching the blood sugar module this week. I'm going to watch 2 videos from that and I'm going to start implementing it. Maybe you're reading a book, like, okay, I'm going to read 2 chapters of this book this week. Maybe you are, I don't know, you want to get supplements. I'm going to order the supplements this week, whatever it is. Okay. Hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. But for me, it's always helpful to see it in different areas, to see these different buckets, to have the specific tasks for each area of my life. Because when you have so many moving pieces, it could feel like, oh my God, like I have to do this, I have to do this. And it feels very scattered. For me, it feels very scattered. So when I have it all on paper, I have them in these different buckets. And then what you do after you write all these buckets out, you actually schedule it into your phone. Okay, I said I'm doing acupuncture. My appointment is this day. Okay, put that here. I have an OBGYN appointment this week. Okay, make sure that's in my calendar. Put it here. I want to take this yoga class. Okay, I'm putting it on my calendar here. Like whatever it is, right? You schedule your personal stuff first. Maybe if you have kids and stuff, you have to put that in there too. Like, okay, Susie has a soccer game this day. Like, let me put this in the calendar, whatever. Okay. That could be one of your buckets. Then you go to your other buckets of like whatever work you have to do for your career, for your business. Okay. I'm doing this on this day. I'm doing this on this day. You schedule it in your actual calendar. And then you just like cross off the things underneath each column on that paper as you're scheduling it into your calendar. And you know that you have it all done. And then what I would do before you even schedule into your calendar is look at that list and be like, are the things that are on here, do these have to get done this week? Are there things I could push to next week? Which things, like, let me just put a circle around things that they don't have to get done this week. It would be nice. I would like to get extra done. They're not required to get done this week. So I'm going to put a little circle around them. After I schedule in all the things that have to get done, I'm going to make a notes section in my phone for extra things I could do this week. And you put that list of extra things that you can get done. If you have time, if there's space for it, you know, okay, I actually have some extra time today and I'm feeling good. I want to maybe do something else. Let me go to my extra list, see what's on there and see what else I can get done for this week. And if you don't get to it, cool. You're not going to feel like you didn't do what you had to. You're not going to feel like you're unproductive or whatever. It's a whole nother conversation, but then you'll just push it to the next week and do it when it actually has to get done, when it's required to get done. So I hope that this is helpful for you, because it really does help me doing that from a tactical standpoint. Obviously, you know, like from another standpoint of making sure that you're taking care of yourself, making sure that you are meditating, that you're drinking water, that you're having meals for yourself, that you're like really taking care of yourself from a mental and emotional standpoint. Obviously, that's just like wasn't the direction I was going with this episode. But from an energetic standpoint too, when I'm feeling this overwhelm of, wow, there's so many things that we want to get done. Wow, there's so many things going on. We do kind of have a deadline because a baby's going to be coming, like all this stuff. It's really like energetically trusting that it's all going to happen in the perfect timing when it's meant to happen, and that it always gets done. It always gets done. And if it doesn't all get done, you figure it out. And what has to happen will happen. You always are able to figure it out. Like it's either it always will get done. And if it doesn't, you figure out what to do then. Like you are so resourceful. You're so resilient. Look back on your past for when things have worked out in perfect timing. And when you have figured it out, when you were like, holy shit, I know I can handle this. Like you can handle it. Okay. So these are just like, this was a tactical episode of like what you can do to really help yourself with overwhelm, of breaking down bite-sized pieces of this goal, instead of looking at like the whole big picture. So you have it broken down. And again, obviously, if you are someone who is working on your fertility, or you want to regulate your period, or get off hormonal birth control, or, you know, whatever is happening with you, you want to just improve your overall health and balance out your hormones, and you want a step-by-step roadmap, that is where the Mind Your Hormones method is for. Okay. The link is of course in the show notes, but what I want you to really start just like thinking about from just a day-to-day perspective is breaking down the goal bite-sized pieces. You don't want to eat the whole meal in one bite. You want to break it down. Okay. Making these buckets so you feel more organized and you feel more in control over like, okay, I'm scheduling this here, I'm scheduling this here. It just doesn't feel as overwhelming. And you're just doing what has to get required in that week, in that week, in that day. And if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done, and you just push it to the next day or the next week and you figure it out, right? So obviously there's certain things that have to get done on deadlines and that we have to prioritize, of course, but you know what I'm saying, okay? Trust that it's all going to happen in the exact timing. It just is, because that's my belief and I have evidence of that, and I just keep going back to it. And the same goes for you. It's all going to happen in the perfect timing. You've got this. I hope this helped you. Please let me know if this episode resonated with you. Let me know if you are going to implement this into your life of breaking things down, of like organizing your week like this. I used to do this either on a Friday, like afternoon. So then I was like, I'm good. Like I don't have to worry about it over the weekend. I have it all set for the next week. Or I would do this on like a Sunday, of like the different buckets and areas of, I don't know why I call it buckets, but like it could just be categories, whatever you want to call it. either again, like a Friday afternoon or on a Sunday. That's when I felt like it would really help me the most. So let me know if this resonated with you. DM me on Instagram at Corinne Angelica. I hope this supported you. I hope you feel like, all right, I could breathe. Let's just actually all take a deep breath before we go. Ready? Inhale through your nose and let it out. I should have started the episode like this. Let's do one more. Inhale through your nose and out your mouth. Third time's a charm. Inhale through your nose and let it out. And this is just a beautiful reminder that you always have your breath. And when you are feeling overwhelmed, come back to that breath. Like, how much better do you feel just after those 3 breaths? Like, I needed those 3 breaths. I hope you did too. I hope you're feeling a little bit lighter and a little bit like, I've got this. It's all good, because you do have this and it is all good. Okay. I love you so much, and I will talk to you soon.